Hi, I'm Linda Eadie, and I'm the author of Yearning for the Unattainable, which is a young adult novel, and I'm going to read you the first chapter. Before I do that, I'll tell you a little bit about a story. It's exactly what it sounds like. You're yearning for something that you can't have. I remember, the reason I wrote this, I guess I should say, is I remember when I was a freshman in high school and I was in a large study hall, and there was this beautiful young man that sat in front of me, and he was everyone's heartthrob, and I knew that there was no way he would ever see me behind him, and it gave me this idea of writing this book, actually, Yearning for the Unattainable. So that's where it came from. And a lot more went into it. So if you've ever yearned for someone that you knew, this is the book for you. So we'll start right here. 891 miles ago, I packed my duffel bag for the 7th time in 10 years. I must be the only 16-year-old girl alive that can claim she's attended 14 different schools since she learned to tie her own shoes. My attempt at a love life has been circling the drain too. I mean, I should have been kissed by now and had the opportunity to tell a guy, hands off. I swear I'm having a mid-youth crisis. The only guys I've ever swapped saliva with are the ones in my dreams, and they're way out of my league. I'm always doing that, yearning for the unattainable. We pass a billboard. Wiregrass welcomes you. Population 10,994. Home of Wallace Sawmill. Check it out, Gentry, Dad says as we continue down the 2-lane road. It's soon to be 10,998. He raises his Ray-Ban aviators and winks at me in the rearview mirror. I'm actually not sure whether I want to fit in down here in Wiregrass, Georgia. We've never lived in the South. Geez, Dad, I've heard stories. Southerners whistle Dixie, fly Confederate flags, they're rednecks, they feast on roadkill, boil their peanuts, and kiss their cousins. Damn, why here? Come on, Gentry, it's not all bubbas and banjos. I smirk as I watch the town sprouting up around me like the grass growing between the pine trees along the side of the road. Dad said it's the town's namesake, Wiregrass. A la-la land fantasy breaks my boredom. Where are we moving to, I say? Daytona Beach, Dad says. You're the best daddy ever. My brother's dog breaks my daydream by barking out the window at a stray cat crossing the street. I refocus on the colonial homes that sit back at least a half an acre from the road, with only white picket fences for security. There are giant trees that are dripping in moss, and their thick limbs form a shady canopy across the street. I seriously feel like I'm caught up in some twisted time warp, a flashback. However, the cell phone towers in the distance places me back in the present, and so do the residents' luxury cars and their antebellum circular driveways. Is Aunt Tom's house like one of those? I asked, pointing out the window at a historic home. It sure is, Dad says. Aunt Tom has at least 5 bedrooms with fireplaces in every one. Really? My eyes widen. That's definitely different. We've never lived in anything other than an apartment, and only once can I remember that I didn't have to share a bedroom with Rawson. As we got older, we tacked a blanket to the ceiling between us, but I could still hear him on the other side. Doing what? I didn't want to know. Does that say at Austin Avenue? Dad points up ahead to the next street sign. Yes, that's it, Nicky nods. Even Rawson's bulldog, Fluffy, seems to agree. He turns his wrinkled face to look at me while panting. Drool drops from his jowls and runs down my brother's hairy bent legs. Rawson bats at it as if it were a pesky fly, still refusing to peek out from under his pillow that's buried his head like a piece of bologna in a sandwich. Nap fraud for sure. Rawson is either in total denial or he's given out of shits to care about our recent credit card debt. Moving in with Aunt Tom was my dad's idea for starting over. Again, who in the hell is Aunt Tom? What's the address one more time, Nikki asks. 923, answers Dad, as our in need of arrest Taurus station wagon creeps slower and slower down Austin Avenue, where a block-long park sits on one side of the road and old houses on the other. There it is, Nikki exclaims, pointing out the window at a home that has to be the most neglected one on the block. It's so exciting, Teddy, exclaims Nikki, as she literally bounces in the front seat while reaching under my father's braid for his neck. She glances in the back seat and smiles. We're here, Gentry. I shrug, roll my eyes, and offer a cheesy smile. Fabulous. Just stinking fabulous. I feel nauseous. Not sure if it's from wasting time looking through Nikki's Who Did Who supermarket tabloids for the past 48 hours or from agonizing over my new address. Dad pulls into the gravel driveway. It's steep, and so are the steps leading up to the house. The grass is at least knee-high, and the bushes are overgrown, and the trees are swollen with blooms, branches, and leaves. My head is protruding from the open window just like Fluffy's is from the opposite side. The three-story home appears abandoned. That is until we reach the backyard where the garage is. It's separate from the house. The door is down. Well, sort of. It's resting on the rusty bumper of a car sticking out. However, there is another sign of life. Laundry hanging on a clothing line. The sheets are waving at us, as if they're our welcoming party. Well, somebody lives here, Dad says. Do you think you have the wrong address? Nikki asked, twisting around in the front seat to get a better view of the run-down-looking house. Nope, this is it, Dad says as he parks by the back screen porch. There's a wheelchair ramp leading up to it where a washing machine greets you along with a small table holding an enormous box of detergent, depot size. Does the house look like you remember it? I asked, staring out the window at the wild vines clinging to its wood siding. It's hard to tell. Dad knocks on the back door inside the porch. After a couple more attempts, he peers through the glass. No one's answering. He pounds on it. Geez, it's not air-conditioned, I say and point. Look, some of the windows are opened. It's not like we ever had AC, but that was different. It wasn't in Dixie. Let's try the front door, Nikki says, as she and I climb out of the car, too. You're not supposed to enter the people's homes in the South through the back anyway, unless you're the help. How do you know? I ask as I lean against the car door. I read it in a book. Nikki straightens her halter top and yanks at the crotch of her shorty shorts. Her butt cheeks play peekaboo with each of her steps. You read? Dad says and laughs. Nikki chases him around the side of the house as I follow. Nikki is my father's latest answer to fill the mommy vacancy position in my brother Rawson's and my life. Actually, she's filling another position, but I don't even want to think about that one. Hold up, Rawson yells with Fluffy in tow on his leash. This place is a dump. I nod. So true. It's totally dilapidated and maybe scheduled for demolition. Not that any place we ever lived before was a mansion, but it wasn't past hope. A little trimming up and a fresh coat of paint is all it would take for a makeover, Nikki says. I shake my head as I focus on the chipped and crackled wood siding. Layers of color are revealed like flipping pages in a book. Sounds like a good job for Rawson, Dad chuckles while glancing over his shoulder at my brother. I'll hold the bladder for you, old man, Rawson laughs. I bet that window at the tippy top is the attic, Nikki points with one hand while the other one rests on my father's butt. I drop my head back to take in that attic window, but there's a glare like a reflection bouncing off of a mirror, blinding me. However, the one beneath it is awesome. 3 panes jut out, making it into a bay. I wonder if there is a seat there. If so, I could fill it with throw pillows and a blanket for cool nights, and I could curl up and take a nap there and read there and daydream there. And who in the hell are you? Says a hoarse voice. I jump, and so does my pulse. Nicky squeals and grabs Dad's arm. Fluffy barks, and Rawson bats at a fly. A pale, raisin-faced woman with orange, sticky-outy hair, dressed in a cotton robe, appears on the porch. It's almost impossible to see her from the overgrown pink blossoming bushes and the kudzu strangling her house. Dad takes the front steps 2 at a time. Aunt Tom! Who in the hell are you? She repeats. Fluffy pees on the bottom banister as the rest of us remain on the cracked concrete sidewalk. I elbow Rawson and whisper, "Don't let him piss on her house." Rawson shrugs. "What does it matter? It ain't gonna hurt anything anyway." He snickers. "It's me, Aunt Tom, your nephew, Ted Wickleham." Dad reaches out for her hand. Both of hers are clasping a walker. "Ted who?" she asks. "Wickleham," Dad repeats. "You know, your baby brother's kid." "You're Theo's boy?" she says as she pushes her glasses up the bridge of her nose with her right hand closer to her eyes. "Yeah, that's me," Dad says. "I called you, remember?" "I reckon I do," Aunt Tom says, but her face disagrees. I'm sure she's examining Dad for family resemblances, but I have no idea what those are. Ross and I had never heard of Aunt Tom or Wiregrass until a month ago. Dad turns to face us. He points. "Aunt Tom, this is Nicky, my, fiance," Nicky volunteers. I roll my eyes. What is she thinking? That's not ever going to happen. Nicky bolts up the steps. "It's nice to meet you, Aunt Tom." So you ain't hitched, huh?" Aunt Tom squints but doesn't smile. She looks back up at my father. "I expect you must be hard up for some money, so you just thought you'd mosey on down here to Wiregrass and play me like a fiddle. You out of work or are you homeless?" "Now, Aunt Tom, I didn't drive hundreds of miles for the past couple of days to barge in on you like that," Dad says. "I promise I'm not here to take advantage of you. I do have a job with Wiregrass's largest employer, Wallace Sawmill." He smiles and waits for a reaction. Aunt Tom's mouth is moving, but no sounds are coming out. Maybe she's chewing something, maybe not. "And when we spoke on the phone," Dad continues, "you told me you couldn't take care of this big old place all by yourself anymore. You tried renting out rooms, but that didn't work, so I suggested I bring my family down here and help you out." "I reckon that's so," Aunt Tom says. "You are next to kin, ain't you?" "Yes, I'm Theo's son," Dad says. "Are we okay then? If not, we'll be on our way." She nods. "I expect so. I have been laying up a lot lately. Doc Shelton says it's my arthritis flaring up. Reckon I could use some extra hands directly. I'm much obliged." "Good. Now that that's settled," Dad points back at us and continues the introductions. "This is my son Rawson. He's a senior in school this year. And Gentry, my daughter." He looks back at me. "What grade are you in?" I frown. He winks at me. "Just kidding. Gentry's a sophomore." Aunt Tom's nose wrinkles more and her eyes squint tighter at me. Or is it my imagination? I turn my head an inch behind Rawson on the sidewalk. Fluffy barks. "Oh yeah, that's Rawson's dog, Fluffy," Dad says, pointing down at us. "Don't worry, he's house trained. So is Rawson." Dad chuckles while Nicky and I snicker. Rawson shakes his head. "Ha ha, real funny, old man." Aunt Tom moves her lips some more. She reaches into her front square pocket and pulls out a balled up tissue and wipes the corner of her mouth with it before stuffing it back in. She looks over at my father. "Theo's boy, huh?" she repeats. "Yes, that's right," Dad says, all smiling and nodding. "I do recollect you, Teddy," Aunt Tom says. "You still pick your nose?" Rawson and I bust out laughing. Nikki releases a snort while attempting to cover up her amusement. No, Aunt Tom, Dad says. I passed that booger diving gene on to my son. What a smart ass you are today, Rawson says and laughs. Nikki and I snicker again. Aunt Tom is still not smiling. So you told me on the telephone, Teddy, that you and your family was coming down here straight away to Wiregrass to give me a hand. Ain't that right? Anywho, I am plumb tuckered out. Doc Shelton says my arthritis is flaring up. I could use some extra hands around here directly. Here we go again. I shake my head and smirk. Yeah, Dad says and nods. You better back that yeah up with a ma'am, Aunt Tom says, if and you gonna be laying your head on my fine linens. Yes, ma'am, Dad says. Did you guys hear that? He looks back at us and over at Nikki. We all nod and repeat to him, yes, ma'am, and giggle. You have a lovely home, Aunt Tom, but it looks like you could use our help, Nikki says, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We'll take good care of you, too. What's that you got on there, young lady? Aunt Tom asked Nikki. Your drawers? Don't you know you can't fit 6 pounds of sugar into a 5-pound bag? Are you some kind of Jezebel? Nikki blushes and shakes her head more times than is necessary. Rawson and I nod. That's only because we know where Dad met Nikki, Larry's lion lair. Her pole dancing name was Gigi Julia. It doesn't help matters that Nikki's only 7 years older than my brother. Geez, she could be my older sister. No, ma'am, Nikki says, looking down at her clothes. These are shorts, and maybe Aunt Tom has another robe you can slip on over that, Dad says and winks, like the one she has on. Chicken feathers. This ain't no robe, Aunt Tom says. This frock be my duster. Of course, it's your house dress, Nikki says. Men, they don't know anything, do they? Aunt Tom looks back at Nikki and shakes her head, maybe in agreement or possibly in disgust. Well, enough with shooting the breeze. Y'all come on in. Don't piddle now. It's hotter than the hinges of the back door hell out here today. Aunt Tom scoots her walker toward the front door and backfires at least 5 farts in a row. Rawson whispers, she's damn sure shooting the breeze. He reaches his hand under his t-shirt and armpit farts a couple of times. Something that Dad and he do as a competition, along with belching. Such a stupid-ass guy thing. I shove him. Stop it, Rawson. That's gross. The neon yellow tennis balls on the back of Aunt Tom's walker glide across the slatted wood floor and kick up flakes of dark green chip paint. She looks back at my father. You gonna fetch that door for me or not, Teddy? Yes, ma'am, of course. Dad reaches for the handle. The screen door screeches like a car brakes as it opens. My shoulders rise toward my ears and Fluffy whines as the 3 of us walk up the steps. We're giving Aunt Tom all the space she needs. We take our time for obvious reasons, 5 of them. The staircase inside greets us in the dark hallway along with an odor. It stinks. Not that kind of stench, but an unidentifiable, smelly one, though. I reckon I can share my supper with you folks since you're next to kin, Aunt Tom says. You do like collard greens, grits, boiled ham, and hoe cake, don't you? They're so good they'll make you want to slap your mama. What mama? Sounds delicious, Dad says. He looks back at us and grins. Doesn't it, kids? Nikki swats his bottom and giggles as they disappear into a back room, presumably the kitchen. There is no way, Rawson says, I'm eating that shit. Maybe later, Dad. I want to take a bath first. I glance around as my eyes adjust to the dimly lit hallway. Wrinkling my nose, I say, ooh, this place smells rotten. And it looks like something out of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, Rawson says as he heads for the staircase with Fluffy. I nod and glance around. I notice cobwebs on the hall light fixture above my head. They're, of course, old spider webs dusted and covered in dust. I scoot over just in case one decided to hang out. Rawson detaches Fluffy's leash and drops it by the coat rack next to the front door. Think I'll check out the bedroom situation. Fluffy leads the way up the wooden steps to the second landing. You coming? I shake my head. I'll let you go first. How polite of you, Gentry, Rawson says and laughs as he continues up the steps. I'll let you know if there are any dead bodies up here. I move up the 3 steps to the first landing. The staircase hangs left here, following the wall. Be careful, Rawson, I say. Now you care about me, Rawson says, as he and Fluffy continue up the U-shaped staircase from the landing, which turns left again to the 2nd floor. They're out of my sight, but I can hear Fluffy's claws clicking away on the hardwood floors above me, and Rawson shuffling around, opening and closing doors. Anybody up here? Come out, wherever you are, Rawson sings. Hey, I think I found something. What? I say as my eyes widen. Should I get Dad? Shit! Rawson rushes down the steps, taking them 2 at a time. Fluffy's barking at his heels. Get out of my way!